Welcome. You know, class started 5 minutes ago. That's good. Today we're going to be talking about what it means to be American. This is a commentary on Citizen by Claudia Rankine. A little lecture. America is not only her stereotypes. The stereotypes being that the people are overly patriotic, gun-obsessed, self-absorbed, loud, racist. All of these, some of them may be true about some people, but there are always bad apples in a bunch, as there are good ones. Always, inevitably. But the real, what it means to be American, really in its roots are freedom. To be free is to be American. That is why we founded, people founded America. Anyways, freedom is obviously a defining feature of America. So I'm asking to you, what is freedom? It's the ability to criticize a government who you think is doing wrong and be able to change it within legal means, of course. Yeah, fantastic answer. Fantastic answer. But obviously, that's not everything. I would not expect you to know everything, also wouldn't have asked you, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, there are different degrees to freedom. Obviously one, like they're all to help distinguish from tyranny. The freedom to pursue a conception of good life, or how the founding fathers phrased it, a pursuit of happiness. The freedom of self-determination, self-expression. But obviously freedom is not to do whatever you want to do. There has to be a sort of checks and balances when it comes to freedom. Legally, I feel like you should let other people partake in their God-given right to freedom. So if you decide to drink and drive, potentially robbing someone else of their right to freedom, you should be punished for that, and to discourage that type of behavior. In Freedom, with a question mark, by Orla Donovan, to imagine freedom is to imbue our thoughts and possibly our actions with the power of creativity. It is to begin to sense that the world that we inhabit can be altered, maybe even transformed. We should kind of think of democracy in ancient Greece. They used to put ballots into a box. That's where democracy was formed. A true democracy. But obviously, America is not perfect. And the problem with America is its history with slavery and oppression. The people of color being oppressed and slaves, it really puts a damper on American history. And really seems to deteriorate the argument of American freedom. Such examples of oppression is seen not only with slavery, like I mentioned, but with Jim Crow, the racist segregationist laws made in post-slavery America. In these it says the Civil War rulings provided a legal substitute for the abhorrent methods such as lynching and murder of ex-slaves. Southerners used Jim Crow, obviously, in place to keep away from the whites. And the Supreme Court, took this in and really made it law. The Supreme Court enabled whites to deprive African Americans, apparently of people closer to the anthropodic apes than human beings, according to a popular Southern expert on the human race. I believe that was a testimony. These rulings made racial segregation and Jim Crow legal. these rulings being called de jure, meaning a matter of law, and a matter of fact that is de facto, really means racial segregation in southern states was to be taken as true as the fact that the sky was blue. That's just crazy to me. But in this, we cannot forget that these facts were the facts of 58 years ago. The Civil Rights Bill was only signed 58 years ago from today, as of 2022. Crazy. So, of course, there's been major progress, but there has been undoubtedly, there still is racism. And if not from the older generation, the generation under the wings of segregationists and the lens of Rankine in her book, she provides a commentary on what it means, or what racism is like today, from people who undoubtedly were under the wing of these people. One of these stories is when Serena Williams played in one of her many US Open tournaments. Obviously, one of the best tennis players of all time. Phenomenal lady tennis player, everything. She felt like her black body didn't belong on their court or in their world of tennis. Just, again, crazy. And it's crazy, because even the umpires were against her, assumingly for her race. The commentators commented and saying, Capritori, or however you say that, wins it with the help of the umpires and line judges. This is on Rankine pages 26 and 27. Implying bias towards the lady Serena was playing against. So, any thoughts? Yes. Yeah. I feel like Serena felt like she was robbed and cheated from a win. And in one area where you think racism would be irrelevant, sports should be a place devoid of racism and purely objective. In a sport like tennis, there is no subjectivity. The ball's either in or out. Yeah, wow. Dude, you are on the spot there. You are on it. You are on it. Anyways, so one of the most important and prominent commentaries Rankine gives the reader is the very first one. In this story, the African American kid in the primary school of 12 kids, tiny school, he feels invisible. As invisible as the clouds covering the moon. The white girl that cheats off the narrator and tries to justify cheating off of him by comparing him to the likes of a white person, which is, she's not that old. Like, she says, you have the features more like a white person. That's a quote from Rankine. And the teacher never punishes the white girl because she never sees the African American in the class. Like the moon behind the clouds, this problem with invisibility and identity is seen also in another book that I really love, The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. In this story, the narrator struggles to find his identity, and because he does not know who he is, he tries to find validation through others in a way to feel like he's not invisible. None of this, none of this works. None of it works until he realizes he was looking for himself and was asking everyone else his questions, in which he could only answer. And it's crazy. The book is fantastic. The same problem is occurring in this passage from Citizen. The kid feels like the teacher never actually saw him. And in this, he feels invisible in the class. Invisible to everybody in the class except for this one white girl that feels like he is white. This neglect from the teacher is racist and is the point of the story. At the end of the book, Rankine offers the reader how African Americans feel about the Trayvon Martin shooting right after. They were scared the justice system had other plans for them. And even if they were innocent, they wouldn't be prosecuted fairly. The worst part of the passage is that they tell you to forget. They tell you, you are a citizen and therefore you should let it go and move on. And in free democracy, no particular group should feel like they're being threatened, especially from police or government, who should be ultimately helping to protect you. So, the problem is that these issues with racism, discrimination, visibility, this is a problem that's all too common. And in a new, fully realized version of the land of the free and home of the brave, it's only recent, and progress can't stop here. Anyways, I've been rambling, mumbling, but you can leave. Class is dismissed.